Hello and welcome. Silrace here with World of Tanks. So I have two games here, two replays here for you today. First one with this T1 Heavy, and the second one with T25 2. Tier 5 and a Tier 7 in case you didn't know that, and so on. I mean, it kind of tells it to you on the top left of the screen that this is Tier 5 or Tier V, right? As in the Roman 5. You know what I mean. Anyway, I kind of wanted to feature these two replies because, well, if you watch my stuff, for me, it's more important for me to show things that from which I learn, which I personally learn to play the game, and hopefully you can learn something out of as well. Instead of showing stuff like, ooh, I did 7 million damage, because that's not really interesting, at least to me personally. Because often that just comes down to finding yourself in the correct situation where all you can do is just pour out the damage. However, this one and the one following, if you look at what is happening here, we're just pushing through this side with basically no contest here. And I'm like, when I was playing this, I was like, wait, what is going on here? I am just gonna go then. Because to me, this is a situation I don't want to happen when I am, you know, playing. When I am on the field. I want to put myself in a position, especially when I'm playing a heavy tank, but typically in any tank I play, where opposing team can just do this. If you look at what we have here, we have most of our team just basically, which is gonna happen is we'll wrap around and pincer the opposing team basically. Now granted, we only have a few tanks on the other flank, so, as a result of most of us being here. So technically you can argue that it becomes a situation, that it will become a situation where now we have split the map from, you know, they are on the right side of the map or the east side, and we are on the left side, the west side. Except we are already in their base at this moment, because we have pushed through. The KV-1 is coming to do a very nice valiant, you know, let's defend the base. Makes sense and stuff. That's what I would do if I was on the opposing team and stuff. Now, granted, there are various vehicles over there which have very good view ranges and camouflage and so on, and it's just pouring fire into me, and that's fine. That's fine. We are up on kills, we are capping the opponent base. And that's just how it goes. Now you can, as I said, you can say that we have split the map in two. However, we have basically secured the victory here because the opponents did not defend this west side of the map basically at all. There were a couple of things in where basically the S-35 CEA in the C3, C4 area. Couple tanks there and something sitting at the back of the enemy base basically. But aside of that, there really was like no defense. And the opposing team, even though they have vast majority of their team was on the west side, they weren't pushing as aggressively. I would say that I basically facilitated the win here. If you look, if you go back and look, I was by far the point tank. Like, I realized that there is basically nobody here, and that's the victory. Enemy base captured. But I was just, when I was going through, I didn't stop. I was like, okay, there is nobody here. If I just push through, I am going to be essentially behind the enemy team, if nothing else. Now granted, there could have been like 10 million tank destroyers that are just waiting to shoot me to pieces. That's a possibility. But I wasn't seeing anybody, and now granted spotting mechanics and all of that in this game, but I wasn't getting shot at. That's the point. So I wasn't essentially, you know, I wasn't seeing anybody, and I wasn't getting shot at by anybody. And so let's move on to the next one. So game 2, as in replay 2, and you can probably guess that the exact same thing is happening here. And yes, you're correct. The exact same thing happens here. This is a tier 7, tier 8 game with the T25 2. The thing is, what these games like this, what it highlights to me is that don't let this happen to me when I am on the field, essentially. Like, it can be really tempting to just stack your entire team on the one side of the battlefield, where it's like, okay, if we consider it from a strategic and tactical point of view, having 15 tanks taking on, let's say, 8 or 9 or 10 tanks is essentially a guaranteed win. You have massive hit points and damage output advantage at that given point in time. However, vast majority of the time you cannot bring all those guns to bear on one single flank. And then you end up in situations like we had in that previous game, like we will have in this particular game, where if you don't push through, if you don't destroy the opponents on that flank in very, very quick fashion, you will have a situation where the other half of the enemy team is now doing a pincer movement on you, or is behind you and just capping your base out. In which case you have to go decide to turn around and whatnot. And frankly, when you are playing this game, aside of, you know, really competition stuff where everybody is on same Discord and whatnot, or you were platooning with a couple of people or whatever, outside of that, you can only really affect what you do on the field. And so by your own decisions you decide how you want, or rather which parts of the map do you want to leave open for the enemy to push through, or the opposing team to come and, you know, make their way through the field of battle into your base or into wherever. This is, then you end up in situations like this Emil, which is trying to essentially run away now because it's all alone here, all alone. And here now, I wasn't the point tank, I wasn't really aggressively pushing through. I am a tier 7 in a mostly tier 8 game, or half the tier 8 game. However, these folks, fine folks in front of me, they just went for it. Like, they bombed it out as soon as they realized, hey, nobody is here. Let's just make it through. Let's just make it through here. And I can just try and provide supporting fire here. And if you look at the score and stuff, 4-0. Like, we destroyed this flank. And now we have multiple guns shooting at the couple defenders over here. Should those couple defenders have pulled back and joined the ones in the town? Possibly. They could have tried to do that. However, we can just always cap their base now. There is absolutely nothing they can do to stop us from just driving into the base. Another tank destroyer, just a lone tank destroyer. Now, as I said, should you defend a larger force with a smaller one, usually it is easier to hold a position with a smaller force against an oncoming onslaught than it is to try and attack a larger force with a smaller one. Usually. Not always, but usually. And so, like I said, these sort of things kind of highlight to me of like, okay, shore up the weak side. Don't necessarily just push the one strong side. If want to actually win, if care about the winning and not just care about personal numbers. Because I rarely care about personal numbers. I don't give a damn. If I gave a damn about personal numbers, I wouldn't be showing you a replay where I have so far done 482 points of damage in about almost 5 minutes of play. Okay? But, however, from personal learning of how to get better at this game, I think these two replays here were very important in, like, this stuff will happen. This stuff will happen where there is essentially an abandoned flank for the enemy team to push through, and in those situations I should probably go especially since I mostly play heavy tanks, I should probably go on that abandoned flank to simply to try and buy time for my team to push through the other flank, or to realize that, well, there is one flank which is about to fall, and so on. Now granted, I am getting some damage done here essentially towards the end of the game, and so it's not just about 500 points like it was for the, well, majority of this particular game here. Still, it has to be said that what I am talking about, my thinking process here is, I would love to hear commentary. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Like, is that something you would do as a possibly better player than me, probably a better player than me? Just push with the where everybody else went, or try and defend the essentially abandoned flank to your death and eventually get overwhelmed and die, because that will happen. However, so far from my experience, having returned to the game and played again and such, whenever I have essentially an abandoned flank, the games turn out like this. If I don't go to the abandoned flank to hold the enemy back, we are looking at 15-8, 15-7, 15-2, something like that, losses every single time. And here in these two games we have the, 15-6 and so victories. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was entertaining, and please let me know down below. I will see you folks next time with more World of Tanks.